We're stood up in the attic of Abingdon Museum. I'm here with Megan Jacobs from Portsmouth University.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. I mean, as the finder of the specimen in front of us, I mean, this was found back in the 1980s, and it was identified then as a beast called Ichthyosaur, a subspecies of Ichthyosaur. And I mean, my wish for this was for a formal description. I mean, it got as far as being described as Ichthyosaur, and then it was sent away to Bristol for conservation, and arrived back to Abingdon Museum, and has been in display here since the 1980s, the late 80s. And then Megan became involved, and the story sort of goes to you, really, as how you became involved in this project. Could you sort of enlarge on that?
Yeah, so I've been working on the late Jurassic Ichthyosaurs, mainly from the Kimmeridge clay down in Dorset, and I teamed up with Nikolai Zirkov from Russia to do sort of big overviews of all the different genera in the late Jurassic. And we started going through, I was looking at the Etches collection material, and Nikolai actually found photos of this specimen online, and he went, well, could you go up to Abingdon and have a look, because I can't get there. Yeah. And I went, yeah, that's fine, I don't live that far away, so I came to have a look, and it's an impressive specimen. It's huge. We've decided it's not Ophthalmosaurus.
So I understand.
Yeah. We think it belongs to a genus called Grendelius.
Yes.
Which is sort of a very, some people don't think it exists, and other people do. It's one of those type of taxa. We've got a lot of evidence to support its existence. So what we're doing currently is going through all the different bones, writing the description. You've been doing the illustrations. So hopefully, by the end of the year, possibly, we'll have this described.
I mean, you can reference back to illustrations of Grendelius, the individual bones. They've been illustrated, have they? So it's comparative for that species.
Sort of photographed as well.
Yeah.
My colleague's got a huge collection of all photographs of all the other ichthyosaurs in collections around Europe and Russia, which are really, really good for comparison.
Where could we see a good example of a Grendelius? Is it in the UK?
There's a couple in the Etches collection.
Right.
There's a few scattered around, but they're not formally described yet. They've been assigned to Ophthalmosaurus or something like that. And there are quite a few of them actually come from Europe or Russia. They're more well-known specimens. So Grendelius in the UK is not really well-known. But this is...
so this looks as though this is going to be joining that family then?
Yeah. Which is quite
fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. And there's also how we determine that is parts of like the forelimb, especially like the humerus, and how these elements join the humerus. And that's quite a diagnostic thing. And the coracoid as well, especially this sort of shape with the very shallow notch. That's one of the things that highlights Grendelius and the shape of the scapula. So all of these things combined helps us identify what it is. You just have to go through and compare each element with all the ichthyosaurs that have been known, sort of described before, and see how it, sort of the similarities and differences. So.
Yes, I'm going back to the forelimbs here. I think they're described as forelimbs, I believe, rather than paddles or flippers. I mean, we've got 4 rows of phalangeals on these. I mean, I've seen examples illustrated in other texts which have, I think, is upwards of 8. And the forelimb must be extremely wide.
Yeah, so there's...
shovel-like almost.
Yeah, there's 2 different types of forelimbs. You get these ones that are really, really wide. So they have multiplied their digits and they've got these huge, huge big flippers. But you have another form that haven't actually added any more digits, but they've added sort of phalanges on their fingers, so their flippers become incredibly long, and these little bones down at the bottom, like these things here, get down to being like minuscule and going really, really
tiny
in
shell button size almost.
But these weren't just, in life, these wouldn't have been just sort of bony elements like our hand. All these bones would have been held in place with cartilage. So it would have created a very rigid...
So it would be quite rigid, yes.
Yeah, you think of like a dolphin or a whale flipper, it's the same thing really, but ichthyosaurs did it a bit differently.
So the rotation and the flexibility, we've got these articulating surfaces, so that would be sort of a movement rather like that.
Yeah, if you think of how like dolphins and whales can move there.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, same range of movement.
Yes.
Which is quite cool. So all these ichthyosaurs would have quite differed in morphology. So what we've been looking at recently is looking at the size of rib cages.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
So if you look at this ichthyosaur, all the ribs are they're all the same length. But you get some ichthyosaurs where you have these really deep bodied rib. And we think that might be associated with like deep diving or something like that.
Right.
Rather than the eye size, because pretty much all ichthyosaurs have massive eyes. If we look at the jugal, you can see this is the curve of the eye, the orbit, and it would come like up, round. So this would be as
the
sort of this bit here.
Yeah.
So that eye would have been like small football size. So even with a big eye like that, it's just because it's got a big skull.
And then would this also have it's a sclerotic ring, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would also be an element in this, and that would be within this area here.
Yeah.
Covering part of the
eye, so
eyeball
hiding
itself.
the eye in place.
Yeah.
And people always figured these ichthyosaurs wouldn't have had bulgy out eyes, I don't think. Because if you're trying to be dynamic, sort of swim through the water and be really efficient, you're not going to be like, you know, one of those goldfish with the big eyes. It's not going to be like that. They'll probably have flat eyes, like fish.
Yes.
To sort of the aerodynamics through the water.
And the sclerotic ring would be quite sort of flat.
Yeah, and held that eye in place.
And supported that flat area.
Yeah.
Because they're quite textured, aren't they? They're like the sort of almost rectangular components, I think.
Yeah, and they all slot into
ring.
each other.
They slot into each other, yes.
Yeah.
And again, they're held with ligament.
Yeah. So
this is the jugals are one of the diagnostic features of what's going to be a Grandelius.
Yeah, the shape of the jugal really. So this big long rod and how it fans up here, because sometimes the jugal in other species it comes all the way up here and this bit flares out as well, so this is one of the diagnostic bits as well.
I mean, I know you set me an illustration task and you know, we've been I can just zoom in.